So every time you guys go for a race, go for a run, when you guys came to this speech, you know what you guys did? You put your shoes on. Ever since we were young, we have been told, you're not ready to leave the house until you put your shoes on. And today, I am here to challenge that assumption. As you can see, I'm dressed in the nines, awesome red bow tie, but I am barefoot. And look how sexy these feet are. They're awesome, aren't they? See, each and every one of you guys and gals in this room, you're going to graduate. You're going to leave UVA, and you're going to go to graduate school, get a job. And that's a scary thing, to leave the cave that we all call UVA. I know this because 8 months ago, I did when I graduated. My name is Joshua Anton, and I run a firm called Why Optimize and an app called Drunk Mode. And with my speech today, I'm here to tell you, it is okay to leave the cave barefoot. Because 6 years ago, I was kicked out of my house as a senior in high school. And it was one of the scariest moments of my life. Just imagine if that happened to you. You'd be angry, sad, uncertain, and scared. I know I was. I was working 60 hours a week, pushing carts at the local Giant and working in a local law firm just to pay the bills. Not to mention that I had no way to pay for school. Now, I was very lucky and very fortunate because my best friend's mother, Josephine Wells Warner, had taken me in where I didn't have a place to go. And she was a very, of course, patient woman because for a good 3 months, every single day, I'd come home angry and rant about my parents, how upset I was that I had, no way to pay for school and I had to pay the bills. One day, she came up to me and said, "Josh," held up her hand and said, "Be quiet." Motherly, of course. And she said, "Josh, do you have a $100 bill?" Now, of course, I said to her, "I'm broke. I work at Giant. I don't have a $100 bill. I have a few ones, maybe a few fives." And she said, "Exactly. How can you give someone something that you don't have yourself? You don't have a $100 bill to give me, so you can't give that to me. Your parents, they may not have been happy with themselves, and that's okay. But you sitting here and being angry about it and complaining is not helping the situation either. Josh, always hold love for them, but don't live your life trying to seek that love, right? Go out there, make your own story, run your own race." And it's crazy to think because 6 years later, she was absolutely right. See, I was wearing the shoes that my parents set out for me, rather than going out there and finding my own pair of shoes. And the moment that I took that pair of shoes and threw them as far away as I could was the moment that for the first time in my life, I was barefoot. And being barefoot is a scary thing. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So at the beginning of my senior year of high school, I said, you know what? I'm going to pick one of the coolest careers out there. I'm going to try to be an attorney. So I put on those sexy shoes of an attorney, did that for a good few months, and realized after working at a local law firm, don't get into a divorce. Number 2, I'm not great at telling white lies, and I'm not great at bluffing. So I said, okay, not the greatest pair of shoes, and kind of threw them away as well. Then I started my first year at the community college, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be a manager. That sounds cool, too. Now, of course, that was a crazy career to pick, considering I couldn't even manage my own life, let alone others. So, unfortunately, at the end of my first year, I took those pair of shoes and threw them away. Then, in the beginning of my second year of community college, I put on the shoes of a professional shouter. And I started my position as the VP of marketing for the Phi Theta Kappa. They got me in because they had free pizza, and that was awesome. Now, the only thing I could do was shout. I had no marketing experience. I had no leadership experience. In fact, there were so many bake sales that we organized where only like 2 people showed up from an organization that had 90 people. And that's depressing, trust me. But by the end of the year, we built 2 events where all the student clubs of the whole school showed up. And that was a great feeling. And I was like, man, I really like those marketing shoes. They're feeling a little bit more comfortable. But those wouldn't be the shoes that I would, of course, settle with. But at the end of my second year of community college, I said, you know what? I want to transfer. And I want to transfer to one of the best business schools in the country, the University of Virginia, McIntire School of Commerce. But I had no street cred, or no business street cred. So I was like, you know what? I need to get some business street cred. So what does every aspiring comm school student try to do? I said, I'm going to go start a business. And at the beginning of my third year, my first business was a business called Awesome Ideas, which was a business to help other people start their businesses. Not the greatest idea for the first business. My second business was a textbook company. It was a good idea. Made a little bit of money, but it wasn't original. Everyone sells textbooks. We have a whole Facebook group for that. My third idea was a company where we actually went to New York, bought pashmina scarves, bought them for like $3, and sold them for $10 in the community college lounge. Me and my brother, we looked great doing it in suits, but we didn't make a lot of money, so we couldn't live off of that. And then my fourth and fifth idea, try to build a t-shirt printing company and a backpack company where you put all your school supplies in a backpack and deliver it to people's doors before school starts. Great ideas, but we never executed. And now it was like January and February, right before I transferred. I'm like, oh my God, I did all of these ideas. They didn't work, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, I need to get into McIntire. So I spent 3 months trying to figure that out. Spent 3 months on the applications. I went down to UVA, stalked the admissions officers out in their office, trust me on that. Went up there and had a 30-minute meeting with the lady who looked over admissions and gave her the business card of my failing backpack company at the time, which I gotta admit was slightly ballsy. And then I not only did that, but I spelled the name of the school wrong on my applications. I spelled McIntire with an A and a Y. And then I came down at 8 a.m. in the morning, a week later, and apologized after I submitted the Common App for spelling the name of the school wrong in all my applications. And that was a very interesting moment, personally, of course. But on April 27th, 2012, two amazing things happened. The first one is that UVA forgave my horrible spelling. And the second thing was I got the acceptance letter into one of the best business schools in the country, UVA McIntire. And it was one of the best moments of my life. Because not only did I get acceptance into one of the best business schools in the country, but for the first time, I didn't feel as barefoot as I once did. I had an idea of what I wanted to do after UVA. I had no idea how I was going to achieve it, but I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And my point of my stories are pretty simple. Don't go out there and wear someone else's shoes just because they look good. And then if you don't have a plan or you don't know what that pair of shoes that you want to wear, that's okay, that's fine. Just go out there, try on a whole bunch of different pairs of shoes, like if you're in a department store, until you find that pair of shoes that fit you. Because your shoes are out there, but you have to run and find them. Now, my last story today was when I arrived at UVA. And the hardest part of UVA was not the fact that I didn't know where the rotunda was until I went on a blind date and a love connection during my second semester. Got lost a lot. It wasn't the fact that during my first week at UVA, I ended up at Runk trying to end up the comm school because someone gave me bad directions and walked all the way down the road from Alderman Library. Wasn't academics, wasn't relationships. It was a question that every one of you guys and gals has either gone through or will go through in your time at UVA. What do I want to do after college? And that is a very scary thing to decide. At the beginning of my fourth year, my entire life collapsed because I had no idea how to make that decision. I had the ability to either take up a job or do entrepreneurship. And taking up a job looked pretty nice, honestly. You know, I was making $12,000 a year pushing carts at the local Giant 2 years earlier. I had the ability to make $50,000 to $70,000 a year doing a job after college. Come on, a business card with the name consultant on there looks really good when you give it to people. And for the first time in my life, I had the ability to be stable. Entrepreneurship didn't have as many pros. I was probably going to be broke for 6 months to a year, My idea may not work or be successful, and I could fail completely and waste a year to 3 years of time. And let's not forget that on the job side, I had parents and family friends and professors and just regular friends telling me, man, you're crazy. Why wouldn't you take up a job after college? Now, the piece of advice that stood out during that whole crazy time was the fact that my high school counselor asked me a crazy question. She said, what would you do if you die what do you want to do when you die in a rocking chair? 70, 90 years from now, what do you want to leave the world? What is your legacy? And I told her I have no idea what that is. But, over the course of the 2 to 3 months, I began to at least slowly solve that problem. That, obviously, I chose entrepreneurship because I realized that that plan or job or pair of shoes after college brought me the most joy. That even if I didn't succeed and maybe I became a medium entrepreneur, not like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, well, that's fine. That I can break down those problems and inspire others to do the same, to go a little bit outside the box and pursue their plans that they always have wanted to do. And if I can do that for a living, then that is a job worth working. Now, fast forward 5 months later, my company, Drunk Mode, almost collapsed. We had no money, no revenue model, no tech team, just an app with 90,000 users landing off the coast of Africa when they tried to find their drunk friends. It was a really crazy moment. And we were about to give up because we had to figure out how to get $21,000 to fix an app that wasn't working. And we did not have $21,000 sitting in the bank. We had maybe $1K. And we almost gave up. The only thing that stopped us was the words of my entrepreneurship professors in our last week at UVA, where they said the only reasons that startups fail is because they fail to persevere. And as a team, we said, you know what? We're not going to give up. We're going to do what every other startup does when they run out of money. We're going to start a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. And I wish I could tell you it worked, but we only raised $1,300 of $30,000, so it didn't do very well. We realized drunk college students weren't going to pay for our app. So we said, you know what? We're going to email 20 to 40 PR people until they write about our app using the subject line, not porn. And we got into all of these crazy venues in 3 to 4 weeks: BBC Radio, HuffPo, USA Today, MTV. I accidentally called my app a condom for your phone. I even had the blessing of my first PR gaffe. And now we have about 340,000 users. We have a business model. We have gotten some investment. The guy who rebuilt our app became our chief technology officer. And most importantly, we are not landing 340,000 users off the coast of Africa unless they're in Africa. It's great moments. But what if we had given up? What if we had thrown in the towel and said, you know what? This is too much. We can't make this happen. I wouldn't be sitting here or standing here talking to you today about a story of success. The shoes of an entrepreneur were an impossible pair of shoes to try to put on. I'm sure many of you guys and gals want to be attorneys, doctors, amazing research, publish an amazing piece of work that's read by millions. And what I'm here to tell you is don't give up that pair of shoes. Once you find that pair of shoes, make them yours, because the only one that's stopping you from getting that pair of shoes is you, yourself. Now I've been sitting here, or standing here, for a good 15 minutes, talking to you about shoes, entrepreneurship, my horrible spelling. Now I want you guys to do something for me. I want you to take off your right shoe. Come on, guys, let's do it. And I want you to take off your right shoe and hold it up in the air like you don't care. Hold that shoe up so everyone can see it. Now you may see some shoes in here. Hold them up. Look around the room. Look at all the shoes in this room. You may see some shoes in here that you wouldn't be caught dead in. You may see some shoes in here that you want to take, put on, run away with, and never give back because they're so stylish. Put your shoes down. But you're not going to wear a pair of uncomfortable shoes for the rest of your life, even if the person next to you looks good in them. So don't do that with your life plan. Don't be afraid to leave the cave barefoot and try on a ton of different pairs of shoes as if you're in a department store until you find that pair of shoes that fits you. And once you find that pair of shoes, that 1989 pair of Jordans, don't let it go, right? Keep running, keep on persevering, and make those pair of shoes yours. Because the only one that's stopping you from getting that pair of shoes is you. So go make them yours. Run that race. Now, you may be wondering, this guy's been talking about shoes, but he's not wearing any. Why is he barefoot talking to me? Well, I do know where my shoes are. They're in the back. The fact of the matter is that I am comfortable with with being barefoot and leaving the cave barefoot. Because at the end of the day, leaving the cave barefoot, it isn't a bad thing. All it is, it's a step towards a new pair of shoes. Thank you.